StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all of this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show, one book, one daily master class. Yes, daily master class. We got a book on this subject. We got a bunch of master classes, a bunch of books, but you'll listen to the daily class. It is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to use habits to set yourself up for success. Yes, there is a way that you actually do this. You can use habits to set yourself up for success. You might think that when you become successful, then you go create habits. No, you create habits first, and everybody understands the concept of habits, right? Everybody knows what a habit is. I'm gonna give you a few, first of all, I'm gonna give you a few episodes where I've talked about habits in the past, and then I'm gonna explain to you why we're going into this topic in this way here today. All right, so first of all, before I do that, I have a text line where I want you to text me and tell me the best insight you got from today's class. If you have a question about anything I said here today, something I can help you with, supplemental information, my number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. It is down below in the show notes as well. Now, let me get a definition of this word habit. Habit is defined as a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. I want you to understand something about habits, is that a habit does not necessarily have to be something that is good for you. A habit can be something that is hurting you. You can have a habit of, even though you know you got to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, have a habit of staying up till midnight watching Netflix and browsing your social media. You can have a habit of eating ice cream and Oreo cookies even though you're trying to lose that last 20 pounds. You can have a habit of second guessing yourself and procrastinating even though you know you don't have time to waste in order to get things done that need to be done in your life. So a habit does not necessarily have to be serving you. It's just anything that you're doing consistently that you just can't, you haven't been able, let's just say, not you can't. You haven't been able to stop yourself from doing it. Maybe because you're constantly thinking about it and you can't, or maybe because you don't even know that you have the habit. So I told you about the 4 deadly habits of losers in episode 1854. Again, understanding that a loser may have some deadly habits, but not even know that they're habits to them. It may just be how they are. They're not even conscious of them. Habits of a critical thinker is episode 1827. In episode 1682, I told you why you need to kill off some of your habits. In episode 1544, we talked about listening habits and how some people have some bad habits when it comes to listening. Episode number 1434, how to over-deliver as a habit. Episode 852, the habit of doing things right now. And I'll give you one more, episode 783, how to examine and develop quality habits. And let me give you one more on top of that. Habits and employees, episode 146, which I went into in depth in my book, Work on Your Game, how your habits are your employees who work for you because they are basically creating the outcome known as your life. The thing about habits is this. They are, for the most part, unconscious. We do them over and over again, but they're unconscious, meaning you're not even aware that you're doing these things. So each of us has a habit of our posture when we walk, or maybe a habit of the way that we laugh, or a habit of the way that we tie our shoes, the habit of the way you put on your clothes, a habit in the way that you answer the phone and how you respond to things when people say stuff to you. We all have a bunch of habits, and most of our lives, I would say 97% of all of our lives as human beings are run by our habits. And we're usually not even conscious of these habits that we have. And hopefully, if you're a person who is successful by your definition, your habits are actually helping you do the things that you want in life. And if you are unsuccessful, then your habits are taking you in the wrong direction. They're having you do things that you don't want to do. But either way, oftentimes we are completely unconscious of all the habits that we have. And we have many more habits than we think we do. So if you want to make changes in your life, in any aspect of your life or in your life wholesale, the first step is to get conscious of your habits and then making conscious change to the habits that you want to change. So for example, if you're not in good physical shape and you get conscious about the fact that you want to change that status, the first thing you had to do is get conscious of the habits that have gotten you to the point that you're at right now. Because No human being is born out of shape. So if you're out of shape, you weren't born that way. You became that way based on some habits that you have picked up along the way. Now, maybe some of them are not completely under your control, but there is something that is under your control that you probably are not taking control of. So the first thing you can do is say, okay, what kind of habits do I have when it comes to how I eat? What kind of habits do I have when it comes to what I'm drinking? What kind of habits do I have when it comes to my fitness or how much I'm moving my body and actually doing things to exercise myself? There are habits that you have in those areas that are either helping you or hurting you. And if you want to make a change, that means some of those habits need to change in some way. Now, if you want to make change in life, it is not about some big grand gesture that you do right now in the moment, that even though that can help, it's usually about the long-term changes that happen in life, and not even usually, but always are about a change in habits, a change in how you see yourself, thusly a change in what you do. Because when you change who you're being, i.e. how you see yourself, it changes what you do, i.e. your actions, and that changes your results. In other words, what you have. So I'm going to tell you here today how you can start utilizing habits in a way that is actually going to help you. If you are already doing these things, then you're going to be glad that there's someone else who concurs with you, being me. And if you're not doing these things, then I would suggest you start doing them, because everything I'm going to tell you here today is a universal principle of the use of habits that can help you no matter where you are right now. Even if you feel like you're already successful, these will help you become more successful, and or another thing it could do, it can help you get conscious about some of the habits that you have right now that are success habits, but you're not even aware that you're doing them. So when you become conscious that these are success habits, you'll be sure to keep doing them and make sure you don't erase them just because you weren't thinking about them in the first place. Now that you're thinking about them, you know that, oh yeah, this is something that's actually helping me be successful. So you're gonna make sure you keep doing it. So if I mention something that you're already doing, be glad that you're already doing it and make sure you keep it top of mind so that you keep doing it and don't erase it, by just by being careless about it because you weren't aware that it was actually helping you. Point number one, today's topic, once again, how to use habits to set yourself up for success. Number one, understand that every habit that you have builds on your next habit. I have a habit, for example, of exercising every day. Now, there are a lot of people who either exercise every day or they want to exercise every day if you let them tell it. Have you ever run into someone who said, I want to exercise more often, but I'm not doing it? And have you ever known someone who said that? Maybe the person in the mirror. And if you've been the person who said that, I want to exercise more, but I'm just not doing it. So here's what I want you to understand here in point number one, that there are other habits that you have or don't have that are either supporting or hindering the exercise habit. Okay, so every habit, the point is every habit builds on the next. So for example, I like to work out first thing in the morning when I wake up, and I like to get my workout in early before other people are at the gym, or if I'm outside when there are not other people outside, and maybe even before the sun comes up, because I live in Miami. It's a tropical climate. It can get very humid during the day. I like to get my workout in before, when it's still dark outside. So what habits do I have? I got the exercise habit, but what other habits do I have that support my habit to exercise early in the morning before everybody else? One of them is that I go to bed and wake up at the same time pretty much every day. That supports my habit of waking up early so that my body is not thrown off its circadian rhythm because I'm going to bed and waking up at different times every single day. The fact that I'm consistent with it allows me to be consistent in getting up and going to the gym. My body knows what to expect from me because I've set it up of doing the same thing habitually. I eat at the same time every day. Usually in the mornings, I eat 2 bananas before I go work out. I don't sit down and eat a formal breakfast ever. I guess, is that kind of intermittent fasting? I guess not, because I'm eating bananas. But anyway, I do that the same way every time. I wake up and I drink a liter of water. If I'm going to do some cardio exercise, then I'll drink 2 liters of water and take some electrolyte pills before I go to do a run or a bike ride or something like that. And my body gets used to it because of those habits. They support my ability to do the workouts every single day. Drinking copious water, like I just said, drinking water during my workout if I'm not doing cardio. Having my workout gear ready the night before, since I'm working out first thing in the morning, I don't want to have to decide on my workout gear in the morning. I lay that out the night before, so when I wake up in the morning, all I had to do is grab the workout gear and put it on, then I can go work out. So there are fewer decisions that I need to make. Another is this show. This is another habit that I have. I'm out of the workout thing now. This show is a habit that I have. I'm making sure that I record this show enough that it comes out consistently. So what's one thing that I do? What's one habit that I have that supports the habitual publishing of this show? One is I keep a file of ideas for every topic that I want to talk about. So when I sit down at my desk and turn the microphone on and I want to start recording, I don't turn the mic on and then start thinking, what am I going to talk about here today? I already know what I'm going to talk about because I have a list of topics that I can choose from. So every day when it's time for me to record, all I do is look through my list of topics and decide, all right, which one do I want to talk about today? Because as you can see, if you look through the list of episodes on the show, and you can see that full listed up at workonyourgamepodcast.com. When you look through the list of episodes on the show, you'll notice that it's not like I talk about similar topics every single day. I could jump completely from one type of topic to the next day by day, and that's just the way that I decide to do it. For example, if I just pull up a random segment of episodes on this show. For example, episode 883 was me interviewing Wes Piper, who's my college teammate and now college coach. The next episode was titled, Stop Lying to Yourself, You Have No Talent. The next episode was How to Stay in Ass-Kicking Mode. The next episode was Separating the Means from the Ends. This next episode was What You Need in Order to Make It in Anything that you do. And the next one was How to Stay Positive Even When Things Are Going Bad. And you'll notice that some of these episodes are not really connected to the one before it or the one after it, and they don't need to be because that's the way that I designed the show. So I can talk about whichever one I want to. I can pick whichever episode I want that's in this notes file. I usually have more than one at the ready. And because I have this file ready, when I turn my mic on, all I had to do is pick one and start talking. I'm not deciding if I want to do it. I'm not deciding, what topic am I going to, not what topic, but I'm not fleshing out what I'm going to say or what my points are going to be. I already have that ready before I start. Another habit that supports that habit is like I talked about yesterday. I already have everything in place. I already know that all I need is a microphone, a tablet, a laptop, and a camera, and then I can start recording. And because it's a thin, not a thin, but what's the word? The word is escaping me, but because I keep it very simple as far as the moving pieces that go into recording the show, it's easy for me to continually record it because I don't need to do a whole lot of stuff in order to set it up. So keeping that file and keeping it light as far as how I put things together here, as far as the physical objects that I need, makes it really easy for me to do it. And also having a file of every episode that I've already done. I make sure I'm not saying the same thing twice. There have been many times where I thought to myself, I should do an episode on topic XYZ. And then before I do it, I go look at my master list of every episode that's ever come out. And I say, man, did I do episode XYZ already? And many times I'll look it up and say, oh, I did that already. I did that 3 years ago. I did that last year. I did that 3 weeks ago. I already talked about that topic. So then I don't do it. So I already know when I'm recording, when the mic goes hot, I already have my material ready, and I make sure I'm not repeating myself. And I have a habit of writing down my ideas, so I don't have to trust my memory for what I'm going to say. You see how everything that I'm telling you is a habit. All of those habits support this one habit of making sure that I have a show that comes out every single day. So this first point that we're talking about here, the topic again today is how to use habits to set yourself up for success. Every habit that you have builds on the next habit. They say, for example, there are people out there who always been an argument about the legalization of a drug like marijuana. And marijuana is becoming legalized in most places in the United States, I think, these days. And I know people who smoke weed, and they seem pretty normal to me and fine. But I also have heard people say, and I'm sure this debate will go on probably for a long time until it becomes much more mainstream that marijuana is just a normal thing like a cigarette, is I've heard people say that marijuana is often a gateway drug to more serious and harder drugs for people who become drug addicts or who become criminals. Now, I don't know the statistics behind it. I don't know the arguments behind it. Now, I'm not here to make an argument on either side. So if I got any marijuana smokers here, I'm not condemning you at all. But what I'm saying is there are people who say, and they have the argument for this, I'm not that person, but they have the argument that people who pick up the habit of smoking marijuana, then it's built upon the habit of taking harder drugs or doing some type of criminal activity. I've seen people recently say this in the year 2021. Now, again, I don't know if they're right. I don't know if they're accurate. I don't know if they're misled. I don't know if they're uninformed. And maybe you do know whether they are or not. The point that I'm making is their argument is saying the same thing that I'm saying here, that one habit builds on the next. Again, they may even be wrong, but the framework of what they're saying is the same thing as the framework of what I'm saying. So good habits can build on good habits, and bad habits can build on bad habits. So if you have a bad habit of, for example, sleeping in all the time and not waking up when your alarm clock goes off, that's probably going to build on the bad habit of skipping the gym and not working out. It may build on a bad habit of not exercising at all, period, because your body, the circadian rhythm is thrown off because your body doesn't know what to expect from you. So every bad habit that you pick up could lead to another one. So someone who has the bad habit of, let's say, smoking cigarettes and it messes up your lungs, you probably may also have the habit of never doing cardiovascular exercise because that smoking cigarettes is hurting your lungs. Your lungs are probably not strong enough to do hard cardio exercise because you're hurting them by smoking the cigarettes. So you see how one habit builds on the next. If you stop smoking the cigarettes, then maybe your lungs will feel better and maybe you'd be more inclined to do some cardio exercise. So every habit builds on another habit. Again, and remember something about habits. The habits are completely neutral. They are impartial to your failure or your success. Meaning, if you pick up a bad habit, the habit does not care that habit is taking you backwards. All it's going to do is exactly what you tell it to do. If you pick up a good habit, it doesn't care if it's making you good. All it's going to do is what you tell it to do. So how do you determine whether you're going to pick up a good habit or a bad habit? You use one thing. This word starts with a D. It is called discipline. And I talk about that in my book, The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. That book is available August 3rd. You can get a free copy. All you got to do is cover the shipping by going to thirddaybook.com. That's thirddaybook.com. Discipline is what helps you determine whether you are picking up a good habit or a bad habit. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to use habits to set yourself up for success. Now, there's a counter argument to what I'm talking about here because some of you are listening to this and your eyes are glazing over. You're like, man, habits, that sounds tedious, that sounds monotonous, it sounds boring. It's repetitive. It's the same thing all the time. Dre, you're telling me I got to become a robot. All right, listen, I understand. First of all, I agree with you. Habits are boring. Habits are repetitive. Habits are tedious. Habits can be very monotonous. It is doing the same thing all the time. It can become robotic. It can be very unexciting. All right, I agree with all of those things. I'm not arguing against any of it. It can be that way sometimes. It can be that way a lot of times, depending on what the habit is. Now, are there times you're going to do the same thing again and you get bored? Of course. This does happen. I'm not telling you that it's not going to happen. I'm not telling you that there's a hack to getting excited about something that is boring to you. There is no hack. All right, this is what it is. You got it right. Well, let me tell you what your other option is. All right, knowing that this is boring, doing the same thing over and over again, here's your other option. Do things randomly. You can either do things consistently or you could do things randomly. I mean, there is no in between. You could reinvent the wheel every single time. Every time you want to go to the gym, you could reinvent the wheel of how you do it. Or every time you have a workout or a game in your sport, you could reinvent how you do your warm-up. Or every time you're going to record for your podcast or your YouTube channel or your TikTok, you could change the equipment that you're going to use every time. You could change the setup of how you're going to do it. You could do it different every time if you want to. If you need that excitement and you need that variety in your life, you could do that. The challenge with this is you will have to call on your willpower every single time because with no routine in place, you can't depend on your unconscious habits to just move you to action. You're going to have to think about it every time. You're going to have to be conscious about it every time. You're going to have to move yourself to action via your willpower every single time. You see, when you are doing things by habit, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to tell yourself to do it. Your body just automatically does it. Your mind automatically does it because it's used to it. You have built muscle memory and mind memory into doing things in such a way that you don't even notice that you're doing it. Has any of you ever gotten in your car, drove to work, and you're sitting in your office at work and you don't even remember driving to work? Or you get halfway through your day and you don't even remember the first half of the day? It's because your body and your mind have gotten into habit. It's gotten into routine so strong that you don't even have to consciously think about what you're doing. And the reason why this is a good thing and not a bad thing is because it reduces the need for willpower, it reduces the need for conscious decision making, and it thusly reduces the friction in your mind of having to decide to do something. If you make something a habit to do, you do it without thinking about it at all. You don't have to use any brain power. So therefore, you're still at 100% brain power, but you already did the thing you need to do. But when you're doing things randomly, now you have to use some brain power with every single action you take. And then by the time you're done doing those things, you might be halfway through the day, but you're 100% through your willpower. You don't have any more willpower. You don't have any more decision-making power because you used it all up, making every little decision that you had to make when If on the other hand, you had just had habits in place, you wouldn't have had to think at all and you would have just did it automatically, thusly leaving your brain open and your brain and willpower available to make the serious decisions that need to be made in life. Steve Jobs, the famous creator of the Apple empire that we have now, was famous for wearing the same outfit every single day. Now, he had a whole closet full, according to his book, the book about him by Walter Isaacson called Steve Jobs. He had a whole closet full of the same black shirt, like the same black shirt, same company, same size, and the same pants. A whole closet full of the exact same pants and the same shirt. And the reason why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day is because he wanted to reduce the amount of decisions that he had to make every single day. So he no longer had the decision-making need of what am I going to wear today, because he had the same shirt and the same pants every day. Therefore, he could save his brain power, his willpower, and his decision-making power to do what? Make the big decisions about what direction his company, Apple, was going to go in. And I think all of us should thank Steve Jobs posthumously for his decision to not need to make the decision about what kind of clothes to wear, so he could focus on things like these phones and these tablets and these laptops that we are, and these watches and these AirPods that we are all using to this day. So yes, our habits are boring, repetitive, and tedious. And yes, they can become very monotonous. This does happen, but your other option is to do things randomly and call on your willpower. So my question to you is, which one do you think is harder? To do things monotonously and the same thing over and over again, or to call on your willpower and to have to figure things out every single time? And here's another question, which one produces more results more consistently? And which one, if you were watching someone other than you, would you bet your money on? The person who does things the same way every time, or the person who has to figure out what to do every time? Which one would you think is going to produce more results in the long run? I'll let you sit on that question as we move on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to use habits to to set yourself up for and sustain your success. Number 3, discipline creates freedom. The more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have to freelance and move about inside of that discipline if and when you choose to. For example, let's say all gyms got closed and every human being, all exercise equipment was closed, and everybody was just banned from exercise. You can't even do push-ups. If everybody in the world was banned from exercising for 1 whole month, the whole world, and then the ban was lifted and everybody could exercise again, here's my question. Which people would get back in shape the fastest? If nobody worked out for a month, who's going to get back in shape the quickest? Now we know the answer. The answer is the people who are already in the best shape before the ban on exercise, right? The people who are already doing the disciplines before they stopped are the quickest to get back in the shape that they need to be in. If any of you who follow my Instagram story or you read my emails, you know that when I traveled internationally in late May, early June of 2021, I came back and I got back to doing my running, cardio outside. When I first came back, I was on what they call the first day. I had to come back to the first day. I'd already mastered the 3rd day, where the job got easy. I'd actually been at the 4th day where the job got easy. It wasn't easy, but I made it feel easy because I was in such great shape. But when I took 6 weeks off from doing cardio, I wasn't in great cardio shape anymore. I had to work my way back to it. And it took me about 3 weeks to a month. And then today, actually, I just ran today and I was hitting great numbers. I've gotten to that 4th day again, but I had to get myself back there. But it only took me 3 to 4 weeks to get there. Whereas had I never done cardio before and I was just starting my cardio when I came back from my trip, it would take me maybe 6 months to get back into that shape. And the reason why it took me such a shorter period of time to get back into my game shape, so to speak, is because I was already in game shape before I stopped. That discipline that I already had in place, it was easier for me to pick back up on that discipline because I already knew what it felt like to be there. I already knew what it felt like to use that discipline. I already had years of doing that discipline. I took 6 weeks off, but I've been doing it for more than 6 years before that. So 6 weeks is actually relatively small compared to the years of discipline I had built up to that point. Now, let's say I'd only been working out for 4 weeks, then I took 6 weeks off. It wouldn't have been as easy to get back. But I've been working out for over a decade, maybe 2 decades before I took that time off. So that time off was minuscule compared to the amount of work time I had put in. So it was easy for me to get back to the discipline because it's all compared, it's all relative. So the person who gets back in shape fast is the person who was already in shape. And the person who was in the shape the longest usually gets back in shape the easiest, the most easily, because they already know what it feels like to do the work. So understand that when you are a disciplined person, You can step out of your habits. All right, just because you're disciplined and you have habits in place does not mean that you're stuck doing the same things over and over again for the rest of your life. That's not what it means. And many people have this misconception when it comes to habits and discipline that you just got to be a robot and do the same things over and over again forever. No. The more disciplined you are, the easier it is to stop doing your habits and come back to them seamlessly with no friction, because you already know what it feels like and you know exactly how to get back into the routine. See, this is the part that people get completely backwards. The more disciplined you are, the easier it is to get back to discipline when you stop. If you're not disciplined at all, the more difficult it is to even get started with it. So you want to be in discipline now, so then when you do go on vacation, or you take a week off, or you got injured, or you got sick, or you had to go take care of your family and you weren't in your discipline for a while, it'll be so easy to get right back in the groove compared to everybody else, because you already know what it feels like, you know what it looks like, you know exactly how to do it, and you know exactly what to do. That's the value of being disciplined. The freedom that it creates for you to freelance and do what you want. That preconditioning that you have of being disciplined does not just go away just because you took some time off. Taking a week off doesn't make, it's like when I was playing basketball, if I took a week off to go on vacation, or I took a week off just to rest my body after the season, it's not like when I came back to the basketball court, I forgot how to dribble and I forgot how to shoot and I couldn't dunk anymore. No, I can still do those things. I might need to get a little bit back in the game shape because I took some time off, but it was very easy for me to get back there because I knew what it felt like. I was just there a week ago. Now, if I had never played basketball before, and then I'm trying to teach somebody how to do it, or I'm trying to teach myself, then it'll be a little bit more of a struggle because I had no baseline. But the discipline is the baseline that makes it easy for you to jump right back into where you were. Okay? That preconditioning doesn't just disappear just because you took some time off. And even if it does disappear, you already know in your mind exactly what you need to do to get it back. And you already know that it works. What do we call that? When you already have the knowledge in place, but the tangible ability has been taken away, but the knowledge is still there. We have a phrase for that. I did a whole masterclass on it not too long ago. Maybe you don't remember. I'll help you out. It's called human capital. That was episode 1869. Because you already have the human capital in place of knowing what it takes to build your way up to that. This was almost exactly 30 days ago. I talked about this. You can get right back to it because you have the mentality. It's kind of like, I've heard people who are publicly noted for making a lot of money say this, and anybody, no matter how much money you have, can say this, is that if someone took all the money in your account away and you were at zero, could you make that money back? Could you get back to where you are financially now? Could you get back there? And the answer is absolutely yes, because what got you to that point is what you know, is your knowledge, is your human capital, is what allows you to make that money. So if the money got taken away, you can make it back. If you take tangible assets away from a person who has human capital, they can get the tangible assets back. Now, if you take human capital away from someone who has tangible assets, they will lose the tangible assets. Listen to episode 1869 so you understand that concept of, again, called human capital. Let's recap today's class, which is how to use habits to set yourself up for success on a continuous basis. Point number one, understand that every habit you have builds on the next, positive or negative. Every habit you have will lead to another habit. So look at every habit that the end result habits that you have, meaning the things that you are doing is leading to a direct outcome. Then ask yourself, which habits do I have that are leading to this outcome, whether it's something I want or something I don't want, and then start making changes. Work backwards and make wholesale changes to those habits, because it's the long-term habits that produce long-term results in life. It's not some big grand gesture that you do one time. Point number two, some people may say habits are boring, repetitive, tedious, same thing all the time. Yes, these are all true. Your other option is to do things randomly. Reinvent the wheel every time. Call on your willpower every time because you don't have a routine in place. So my question is, which one do you think is harder to do? Which one produces more results? Which one is more consistent? And if you were betting on a person, would you rather bet on the person who is consistently doing the same thing every time, or the person who has to figure things out every time? And point number three, discipline creates freedom. All right, if everybody stopped working out for a week or a month or a year, and then everybody started working out again, who's going to get back in shape the fastest? It's easy. The people who were already in shape before the ban went into place. Why? Because they already know what they need to do. They already have the human capital in place, and they already know what it feels like to be disciplined. So it's not going to be a struggle for them to get back to it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be work, but it won't be a struggle. Whereas the people who've never done it before, they're starting from zero. It's much harder for them to get back in shape because they don't even know what it felt like in the first place. So when you are disciplined, you have created the freedom to step out of your habits and come back to them easily. Because that preconditioning does not just go away just because you took time off. And even if it does, you have the human capital to know what to do to get it back. and you know exactly how it works. All that said, send me a text. Tell me the best insight you got from today. What are you going to do differently? How are you thinking differently? Something that I said that really resonated with you. Send me a text at my number, 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all